We turn our attention to another interview on another network. I didn't think there were other networks. Anyway, Kamala Harris sat down for her first and only solo national interview. How brave of the campaign, with, of course, one of her top supporters at MSDNC, Stephanie Ruhle. Now, she's a big supporter of Kamala Harris. She is rooting for Kamala to win. That's fine in my book. She's a radical left-wing talk show host. Needless to say, this was not a hard-hitting interview with a nonpartisan reporter. By the way, that's okay. I interviewed Donald Trump. I definitely want Donald Trump to win. I'm not shy about it. I say it all the time. We are both members of the press. She fancies herself a journalist. She's not. She's a talk show host like me. I'm honest about who I am. Donald Trump doesn't just talk to yours truly. He answers questions. He does press avails on virtually every outlet on a regular basis. So does J.D. Vance. Even he does it with networks that hate him, which is most of the media mob. So for tonight's appearance on MSDNC, to be Kamala's only solo national television interview, you know, after the 16 minutes and 29 seconds with Tim Walz on fake news CNN, it's troubling, especially when she can't even answer a single question without contradicting herself. For example, here she is vowing to fix the economy. Last year, she was saying, we call it Bidenomics, and we're so proud of it. Take a look.
We have aspirations. We have dreams. We can see what's possible. We have an incredible work ethic. But not everyone has the access to the opportunities that allow them to achieve those things. But we don't lack for those things. But not everyone, you know, gets handed stuff on a silver platter. All that, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else, that is called Bidenomics. That is called Bidenomics, and we are very proud of Bidenomics.
Oh, the giggling vice president, proud of Bidenomics, until finally now the realities set in that, oh, I'm not so proud. Also, she talked about fixing the border, but during the very height of the border crisis, your border czar kept telling you the border's secure when it never was, and everybody knew it. Take a look.
Well, first of all, we do have a broken immigration system, and it needs to be fixed.
The border is secure.
You're confident this border is secure?
We have a secure border in that is a priority for any nation, including ours and our administration.
Never mind, she wants free housing, health care, food, education, amnesty, and, sex change operations for illegal immigrants to reward them for their illegal behavior. Is Kamala ever going to explain blatant lies? Is she ever going to be asked by the media? I doubt it. And look at your screen. Will she ever be asked about her radical stated positions in her own words? Because tonight there was no mention of her support for getting rid of the filibuster to pass the $93 trillion Green New Deal, or government health care for all, and banning private health insurance, or banning fracking and offshore drilling, or decriminalizing illegal immigration, and offering all these free everything for illegals. And on top of that, then we have Kamala Harris, even those that are in jail would get sex change operations. It is bizarre. And even during tonight's softball questions, Kamala struggled again. This was supposed to be an easy interview with a friendly MSDNC liberal leftist talk show host that was going to bat for her over the weekend. Take a look.
I don't think it's a lot to ask her to sit down for a real interview, as opposed to a puff piece in which she describes like her feelings of growing up in Oakland with nice lawns.
Then I would just say to that, when you move to Nirvana, give me your real estate broker's number and I'll be your next door neighbor. We don't live there.
I just said I'm not going to vote for her.
Kamala Harris is not running for perfect. She's running against Trump. We have two choices. And so there are some things you might not know her answer to. And in 2024, unlike 2016 for a lot of the American people, we know exactly what Trump will do, who he is, and the kind of threat he is to democracy.
It's not nirvana to expect somebody who wants to be president to answer questions about what she says she wants to do. Now, she had a hard time answering questions from a loyal supporter at, socialist MSDNC who wants to give her a free pass on everything. How is she going to confront Putin or Xi or the mullahs in Iran as president? And by the way, we reported last night the Islamic Republic of Iran They are now actively trying to murder Donald Trump. This should come as no surprise. In 2022, they released a cheap, poorly produced animated video fantasizing about assassinating Donald Trump on a golf course near Mar-a-Lago as a revenge for killing their favorite terrorist, and that would be General Soleimani. And now coordinated efforts from Iran to assassinate Donald Trump are intensifying as the election nears. My sources say it is beyond the pale. It's never been this loud. It's never been this dangerous. But at the same time, the Iranian president is in our country, allowed in this country, to spew anti-American rhetoric, anti-Semitic rhetoric at the United Nations. Here's how Donald Trump responded. By the way,
we are under threat. I have been threatened very directly, and I appreciate the agencies that we've been meeting with, but we've been threatened very directly by Iran. And I think you have to let them know, because the best way to do it is through the office of the president, that you do any attacks on former presidents or candidates for president, your country gets blown to smithereens, as we say.
The Iranians fear Trump. They're not going to hear a response like that from Kamala Harris or Joe Biden. They are unable to muster the courage to openly defend Donald Trump and his supporters from threats from a foreign nation, a radical Islamic terrorist-supporting nation, the #1 state sponsor of terrorism. They continuously spout their own toxic rhetoric against Donald Trump. Iran now trying to interfere in this election, murdered Donald Trump. They already hacked his campaign emails. Nobody in the press seems to give a damn, and the left's dangerous rhetoric just continues. And this includes Biden's idiotic Commerce Secretary, Gina Raimondo, who just called on MSDNC for Donald Trump to be extinguished for good. Take a look.
What he says is the opposite. It's just another lie. Like, how did we get here? Let's extinguish him for good. We have an answer. We have a remarkably talented candidate who is sincere, who's pragmatic, who's open. Let's just get it done.
And extinguish, you mean vote him out?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Vote him out.
Donald Trump has just survived not one but 2 assassination attempts, all while Iran is trying to finish the job. And they still didn't sweep the area around Trump International. And a member of Biden's cabinet is calling for Trump to be extinguished for good. Frankly, beyond irresponsible. And by the way, Secret Service, maybe bring her in and ask her what the hell she meant by that. And it's not just Raimondo. On that hard-hitting news show, The View, Joe Biden himself continued to dehumanize Donald Trump, even pretended to squish him like a bug. Light of 2 assassination attempts, maybe not the smartest move. Take a look.
He's blaming rhetoric from you, that you inspired these 2 assassination attempts. After all of the calls for violence, you know, take them out, all the rest of it, you know what it is. Don't you think that that is just unbelievable? And what do you say to that?
Well, I think he is the most unusual president. No. Look, when I ran, I said I was running. One of the first major speeches I made was before Independence Hall about democracy.
Yeah.
That democracy was at stake. Look, Trump is
Careful.
There's not a lot of social redeeming value there.
He just wouldn't go. He was like a bug. He just kept being there. He was like a bug right there. Zzz. So you felt...
According to Democrats, the mob, the media, state-run media, Trump is an existential threat to our survival. They say it all the time. They compare him to Hitler. They vilify him around every turn. Some even, you know, after Trump was almost murdered. Take a look.
He's a genuine danger to American security.
You know, Donald Trump presents a challenge and a threat fundamentally to the republic.
Donald Trump is an existential threat to our democracy and our most fundamental freedoms.
Don't give them the power. Look, are they a threat to democracy? Yes. Are they going to take our rights away? Yes.
Donald Trump presents an existential threat to democracy. He has advertised he is going to transition this country from a democracy to a dictatorship.
He is paving the way to become a Vladimir Putin or to become an Adolf Hitler or a Kim Jong-un. That's what he wants to be.
We have to defeat a person who is a threat to our democracy.
reckless, irresponsible, and consistent. That's it. This is the new radical, extreme, Marxist, leftist party that wants to get in power. This isn't new. The left in this country has openly been fantasizing about Donald Trump's demise for years, and nobody's been held accountable. Take a look.
That man cannot see public office again. He is not only unfit, he is destructive to our democracy, and he has to be eliminated.
The donor class can't just sit back on the sidelines and say, "Oh well, don't worry, this will all work itself out." They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
Yes, I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president? I want to clarify, I'm not an actor. I lie for a living. However, it's been a while. And maybe it's time.
How dare he say the things he does? Of course I want to punch him in the face.
Right. Press always asks me, don't I wish I were debating him? No, I wish we were in high school, I could take him behind the gym. That's what I wish.
And with this kind of inspiration, I will go and take Trump out tonight.
Eliminated, put a bullet in Trump, blow up the White House. When's the last time an actor murdered a president? I will take him out tonight. If you're a Trump hater or a Democrat, the media mob, you'll get a pass. You know, your violent rhetoric, you know, you can joke about killing a president. You can even glorify violent crime and rioting. In fact, the current Democratic nominee for president, Kamala Harris, she has done both. Take a look.
If you had to be stuck in an elevator with either President Trump, Mike Pence, or Jeff Sessions, who would it be?
Does one of us have to come out alive?
They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And that should be, everyone should take note of that on both levels, that this isn't, they're not going to let up, and they should not.
Trump is a threat to our democracy, and he only fights for himself, not you.
They said, well, do you think Trump is responsible for what happened? And I said, well, look, I mean, obviously he didn't pull the trigger, but he's certainly been tweeting out the ammunition.
The rioters won't stop, they shouldn't stop, or we're not going to stop supporting them. And by the way, a lot of this said after the assassination attempt, 2 now against Donald Trump. But if the roles were reversed, can you imagine the hysteria, state-run media mob would be on a whole new level? Keep in mind, the would-be assassin on Trump's golf course in West Palm Beach, Florida, mere 300 yards away from the former president who was heading in his direction, hiding in an area never swept by the Secret Service, even though they knew about this Iranian threat, even though unauthorized paparazzi were known to post up there. Meanwhile, the shooter in Butler, PA, less than 150 yards away from the president on a rooftop in plain sight when he fired several rounds. And tonight, preliminary Senate report out on the assassination attempts in Butler, Pennsylvania, startling failures of the Secret Service, the only drone visuals controlled by an agent who had just 1 hour of informal training on the device, had to call a toll-free number for technical help with the drone he's operating. More alarming, the lead Secret Service agent at the rally was aware of credible intelligence about a threat against Trump, but never passed it along to his fellow agents. Meanwhile, the on-site communications, a complete disaster. Secret Service agents observed local law enforcement running to the building, guns drawn, where the shooter was stationed, but didn't know what was happening. I mean, what's going on here? Then this doesn't take away from the heroism of the agents in Butler or the agents in West Palm Beach around President Trump. There have been numerous disasters during the Biden-Harris administration for nearly 4 years, one crisis after another, self-imposed. If you're looking for someone to blame, start at the top, work your way down. Take a look.
As vice president, there wasn't a single thing that I did that she couldn't do. And so I was able to delegate her responsibility on everything from foreign policy to domestic policy.
After the last 4 years, that is probably the single worst thing Biden could have said about Harris. She might be an even less competent, more extreme version of Joe. In fact, the New York Post just uncovered Kamala's past support for handgun confiscation. And by the way, she'd blow somebody away in her house, and she's packing. Just to add it to the list, that's growing about Kamala's radical positions that make her the most extreme, radical candidate to ever run for that office. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.